So we are talking with Jane Borowski. Jane, this is just an insane story. Um, 22 years old, 1988. Um, Stop at a gas station for a soda, which I love. I love the visuals. Like I remember that time period in my life. Things seemed really simple. Small town in New Hampshire. I used to go into a gas station. It was one of my favorite parts of stopping. Like this is when we used to be able to pump the gas and walk in without worrying about the gas. Like back in the day before we were aware. But you stopped to get a soda and make a phone call. Your attempted abduction, and you were stabbed by 22 times while you're pregnant, 7 months pregnant. Um, you later come to identify the attacker as someone they are searching for as a serial killer. There's been 7 other murders in the area around the region. This would be the first known serial killer in this part of the country. Is that right?
There was Gary Schaefer.
Okay, so
Yeah.
so not many
No,
though. Like
no, not many.
this was a shocker.
Yeah.
Yeah. You survive 27 stabs. Your baby survives. It's an amazing story, and I, I I am so grateful that you came on to tell it. Now you have a podcast too, where you talk about your survival and have other people come on and talk about their survival of cold cases. And have you met anybody else that's been in your situation on your show that has been attacked by someone
I
that's
have.
been suspected?
Yeah, not actually been attacked by a serial killer, but Michelle
Mm-hmm.
Renee, she's actually from California. She did a LM Lifetime movie about her story, Held Hostage, and she also wrote a
Okay.
book. And she and her daughter were uh, watching TV one night, and these guys came in and held them hostage overnight, wrapped her daughter in dynamite the next day, and made her go and rob her bank.
Jesus.
Her and her daughter suffer PTSD, and she was
I'm sure.
she's we interviewed her, and I haven't really met her, but because she's in California and I'm in New Hampshire, East and West Coast, but we talk and have communicated a lot over the years.
Is it comforting to share with someone else an experience like that?
Absolutely. Especially with the PTSD part of it. She's helped me a lot with, how to, you know, move forward. And
Right. I found one of the things really striking about your story, and not that I was surprised because I think this is probably more common. You would know better than I, but you didn't seek counseling after this experience for quite a few years.
yeah,
How long did it take you before you were able to accept
it
help?
was about 20 years. Uh,
20
yeah,
years.
yeah. 20 years I lived
Wow.
with PTSD. And, I thought I was living a normal life. And after I started receiving the counseling, I realized my life was anything but normal. Um,
Yeah. Was there relief in finding out that you had been coping? Was there shame and that you had waited so long, or were you just ready when you were ready? Is that
I was
how
grateful,
that works?
extremely grateful. Um, it it was life changing. I mean, it was
Mm,
hard work. I did
yeah.
some real intense therapy for my PTSD for 7 years. Literally had to strip myself naked and rebuild myself back up, and it was a long process, and but very rewarding. Um, I
Yeah.
finally became the person I always wanted to be, and didn't know it.
Yeah, I bet that felt like such a trap, and
Yeah,
you had some really good excuses to not move towards that person at that time. You had some
yeah,
really awful things that you had to face, which I think a lot of people probably are relieved to understand that you can actually move forward from something that is not your fault. You talked in the interview about forgiveness being something that you had to come to terms with. Was there? Can you tell me about the relief you felt in defining that forgiveness for yourself?
It was as if I was, for so many years and for so many reasons, I blame my attack on myself. Why did I have
Mm-hmm.
to stop at that store? Why did I do that? Why did I put my baby in danger? Why did I choose to, why didn't I just go home? Why did I say the things I said to him where I felt at the time I provoked him to attack me? But when I started forgiving and realizing, you know what? I didn't ask him to attack me. I didn't provoke it.
Right.
So I started, forgiving the situation that happened that I had no control over whatsoever to begin with. Um,
Yeah.
and it was freeing. It gave me so much peace, and it made me realize, this this was not your fault, and you got to stop blaming yourself.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like a movie to me. Like I really, and the way you told it, I could totally see all of it myself. And I do. I think there's probably people out there now that are suffering from an event in their lives that they continue to internalize and blame themselves for. And
Oh, I have people
I
message me after they hear my podcast and say, I suffer from PTSD. I had a traumatic event in my life. I've never felt so heard as when I hear you.
right.
And
Yeah.
that's what I wanted. That's why I wanted to do this. After my attack, I had no book I could read on how to cope with this. Uh, uh, or anybody I could talk to. Who else was who else could I talk to that was stabbed 27 times by a serial killer and survived? And you know, I didn't have those tools. Um, but now with me telling my story, I'm hoping I'm giving other people tools for them to, realize that they too can live a happy, normal life and begin healing um,
Yeah.
from
I love that.
PTSD.
I think that's the whole point of our podcast too, is that by telling stories, we get to free ourselves of that bondage of feeling like we're the only ones in the world that have experienced
Yeah.
something. It's a lot of weight to carry. It's a lot of guilt and shame. You
Yeah.
is the podcast a way of healing?
Oh,
I mean, I
absolutely.
hear it. Yeah. Are your daughter suggested this to you too? And I know that she's, you said in the story that she is the reason you fought so hard to survive.
Yeah.
And that must feel like a real, come full circle kind of moment to be healing with your daughter.
Oh, absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
yeah,
She's seen me hit rock bottom. She's seen me at my worst, and yet she still stands behind me and encourages me. And um, I don't think she's given me so much strength uh, that she doesn't even realize. um,
I loved in the interview when you said she said nobody could tell your story like you
yeah,
could.
yeah,
Yeah, that's like you're like that's if the universe had a voice, it's screaming at you at the moment
yeah.
to move forward on something. So,
Now she's
uh,
she's trying to
um,
encourage me to write a book now.
yeah, man,
I
I
don't
think you
even
should.
know where to begin with that.
Yeah, you get a ghostwriter to help you write it.
That's what I was
Help
told.
some, yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on the podcast. Thank you for telling your story. I know a lot of people are really benefiting from your courage, and thank you for just bringing to light a really fascinating story of survival. It's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And
Yeah.
I hope people tune into Invisible Tears. It's
Yeah, the
it's my
podcast is called
story.
Invisible Tears. Yeah, Invisible Tears, a healing journey. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jane.
Thank you.